Hello and welcome back to another Fab Show. I'm James J. Books Corner, and today we are starting a weekend reading vlog. We are starting this on a Wednesday just because I want to spotlight one of the books that are on my TBR in the middle of, and I'm just feeling I'll be done with it, and I want to put it in some type of vlog. That's the only reason why we're starting a little bit early, but I'm not going to take you through the rest of my week. I won't come back to you for another few days. That being said, we'll start with that one. I'm reading The Idea of You. I'll get about halfway through before I really give you guys an update or a check-in for it. This one follows a single mom as she starts a relationship with a 20-year-old. She's 40. The movie coming out, I'm sure I'll probably use the cover with Anne Hathaway and Nicholas Gastine because I've not seen a cover that I liked of the original. It's a very loved book. It came out in 2017. I am not very much enjoying it, but I will finish it. And I'll update you as we go along. The other books I'm in the middle of, in which I'll continue to read throughout this week as well, so maybe I'll turn into a weekly vlog. I don't know. That being said, I'm also trying to pick a book off my unread TBR, which is above me. I picked a book. This is my second time doing this intro, and I realized I really want to do that book for a different video. I have this idea to do a video where I'm reading a book stoned, and I have a very strong feeling that's like such a good one to do for, and so I decided to put it for that video instead. So we need a new one. Simply, I have a number generator from Google that I pop up, and there are 69 books up on my list up there, and we just generate the number. Give me a minute. That book is number 61. I have no idea what that is. Book number 61, which is all the way down there, is Girl A by Abigail Dean. I have no idea what this is about. You can flee from your you can flee your parents, you can bury your secrets, but you'll never be behind. Keep behind what your siblings know, what you all shared. Don't know? I'm assuming it's a bad family situation. Maybe she was abused or something. I don't know. I'll probably try to find the audiobook for it, as it is a thriller, but it is my unread physical TBR, so maybe not. Oh my god, there's no chapters. There is chapters. I take it back. Oh my god, there's no chapters. Oh, they're really long, though. I really have no idea what this is about. I remember it being really popular when it came out, and I was still doing book and month subscription, and I needed an extra book in that box to be able to ship, and so I grabbed this one. Maybe it'll be a good one to give to my sister to read. I don't know, but I'll keep you posted. Hopefully I'll have a full reading wrap up for you at the end of the week. Also, in this video, in case you guys are Taylor Swift fans, I will also be talking about the Torture of Poets Department. I normally cover album releases around this time. If you guys want to know my reaction to Midnight's, it's somewhere. Positions is also on this. To be fair, I haven't really been doing vlogs since there's been a lot of good albums that came out later on early this year. We might run through some of those when I sit down and talk about Torture of the Poets Department, and I can run through some of my favorites, such as the Beyonce, the new Ari, at least some of my high streamed albums of the year so far. That being said, I'll update you in a few days. As expected, 50% into The Idea of You, and I'm enjoying myself a bit more. It's very steamy, super. I definitely count this more as rock than anything else. Lots of sex. They're doing it all the time there, but there's also this really sensible story, I guess. The characters are pretty dry, I'm not gonna lie, and some of the things that are happening in the background are not super duper enjoyable. I definitely feel like we need great leads to really handle the material and bring oomph to the characters, because the book didn't do it. But I'm really still enjoying it. They have great chemistry, and I like how sweet he is. He is so soft, which is very true to a Nicholas Gastine character. For the most part, he tends, especially in his love stories, he tends to pick a really soft person. Must be who he gravitates towards and things. He's very soft, and I'm assuming that's gonna stay true. She's a much more harder character, and it's interesting. The conflict is are they gonna get caught, and also in this case, her daughter being so much younger than what she is in the movie. In the movie, it seems like she's 17 or something. In the book, she's 11, and this guy is her entire world. And now it's that whole entire world's gonna come crashing down on her. And so we know that's gonna happen because it's in the first 2 lines of the book, and things are foreboding. But they're madly in love. And I'm almost I'm at the point where I'm I want it to be a zero stakes book. I just want it to be just a queen through, sure, they're having lots of sex, but their relationship is so cute and subtle in a lot of ways that I just kind of want it to be the same. But I definitely know that a picture's gonna get leaked or something, someone's gonna do something or those lines. There's this other storyline about assault throughout it as well. It's very small. It's not it's a big part of it, and I have a feeling that's probably what's gonna be the catalyst for this. Overall, I'm enjoying myself, and I'm excited to see where it's gonna go. I'm very excited for the adaptation. It's not even hindering my excitement, which is crazy. I think it's gonna be like a 3. It's just an average book, but I'm liking it. I mean, the reading, I don't have any reading. We have here to talk about music. So if you don't care about music, just skip over this entire section. Essentially, it's now Friday. It's 5 o'clock in the morning, or close to 5 o'clock in the morning. I just got done reacting to Tortured Poets Department and the Tortured Poets Department, the anthology, which is a 31-track album from Miss Taylor Swift herself. And I figured I'd come in here and go through some of my recently played albums and tell you my favorite songs from them. And then I'll tell you what's in my songs I need in my ears fucking right now, or playlist or something like that. I got to a point of where I love certain songs in the song, like in an album most, but I wanted to just have those ones on repeat, not the whole album or several albums on repeat type of thing. That being said, when I talk about albums, we're not talking about singles or anything, as I do tend to listen to some singles as they do drop. That being said, let's talk about Taylor Swift. Now, for Taylor Swift in particular, I hearted the majority of the album. So there is quite a bit here that we're going to go over. When we get into the songs I need in my fucking ears right now, at the end, that's where my favorites really will come into play, which ones I thought were my personal favorites. But I need to listen to this entire album like 6 or 7 more times before I can give you a solid answer. So hopefully on Sunday, before I end this vlog, I can give you a solid answer of like my top 5. That being said, starting from the top, so we're going to go through a list. I'll probably just read you off the track number. So on the anthology, which is the one I'll be mostly listening to, I'll be switching almost over all my songs over to this one, and that'll be my most played album for Taylor this year, probably. We have number 2, number 3, number 4. Number 4 and 5 truly were big standouts for me in the first half of this. Number 6, number 8, or number 9, number 10, number 12 was also a big standout. 13, 14, and then we have 17, which was a big standout. 20 was also a big standout. 21, 22, 23 was also a big standout. 24 was shocking. 25, and then we also have 31, which is the final one, which I also thoroughly loved and things. I thought was a good closure. So that's that album. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Continue on with music talk. I'm coming in here, editing Jacob. It's coming in here to tell you a little bit more about some of the things, because I want to talk about Eternal Sunshine. I also want to talk about Guts and that type of thing. There's a few albums that have come out I wanted to mention here. Do I listen to an album for initial, like if it's an artist that I love? If it's a new artist, I'll go through and I'll like the new songs, and I'll tend to go through those songs. I don't tend to go through the entire thing. Obviously, I believe for a project, just like when you read a book or watch a movie, you should watch the whole thing through. Yeah, and then like for books, I have scene selection. Essentially, I'm like, oh, I love that one. That brings me joy. And I'll go back and I'll read that. My biggest book that I ever talk about that with is A Little Life. There's a section, there's like 200 pages in A Little Life that are truly pure happiness, and I love it. The rest of the book is not. So like, it's the same case with an album. Let's start with Tortured Poets Department, because that's where we're just at. Tortured Poets Department is my second most played album of the year. It came out less than a week ago. I don't really know what to say about that, but we're going to continue onward. I've listened to it 377 streams overall. These are really long songs though. So there's like albums like Eternal Sunshine, which has more streams on it. Less minutes though, because those songs were shorter. Let's start with Tortured Poets Department. The only songs I'm not really gravitating towards are between 27 to 30. There's a few in there that I did heart originally, but as I've listened to it so many times since then, they just don't really gravitate. The songs I have in my playlist, songs I need in my ears right fucking now, which is basically that songs that you just want to inject into your body so much because you can't live without them, are these ones. I do need to revise this list. This list was made when I initially listened to it, and I think all of these songs would be on here, but I'm almost tempted to put more songs on here. So we have Down Bad, So Long London, The Black Dog, Chloe or Sam or Sophia or Marcus, How Did It End in the Manuscript. Some other hot takes I have about this album that people are talking about online. I don't think it's a double album. I do think it's a deluxe album, even though I do love the 31 songs. I do believe there are 2 5-song tracks, since I do know this contradict each other. There's no way So Long London and How Did It End are not 5-song tracks. I think Loss of My Life, Robin are some of her most intimate and sad songs. And then I do agree with a lot of people saying that The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived is such a worse diss track than anything she's ever written before in her entire life. And also, we have the Thank You Amy moment. You know what I mean? Like, it's out there, but like, it makes sense. I do recommend, if you're a Taylor Swift fan, to go find the poem that was released with the physical copies of this album. It makes a lot more sense of what she was doing with it. And I do almost think that maybe it should have been added, like, as a poem or something on the album. Either to start the album, maybe like a bridge in between the 2 albums or something along those lines. I feel like it should have been somewhere. That being said, let's move on. All right, moving over to Beyonce with Cowboy Carter. I do want to mention, I want to talk about the songs that are constantly playing in my head with Beyonce. My top songs of the year currently are Beyonce songs. I love Texas Hold'em and 16 Carriages so much. Since we had the full entire album, let me go through some of my tops on that. So we have 16 Carriages, Two Hands to Heaven, River Dance, I know is another one. I have to find them. Sorry, they've been kind of moved down the list because it's been a minute since I've listened to them. River Dance, Protector, and then Amen are like some of my favorites. But also we like Levi Jeans, and the song she sung with Miley, Most Wanted, are also some of my all-time faves. Like, such good album. The only ones I didn't save from that album are probably the ones that she like talked through. I don't tend to save those ones. And some of those are like really short tracks, which is very sad. The next one we're going to talk about is Ari's album, Eternal Sunshine. We're going to talk about the deluxe edition of Eternal Sunshine because it has my personal favorite song off the album, and that's Supernatural with Choice of One. I think that one was just immaculate. I love it so fucking much. We also have We Can't Be Friends, the whole title, but I don't want to say it. But that would also be my next one. And then I Wish I Hated You. Eternal Sunshine is also another great one. And The Boy Is Mine, I would say, are my top songs off of that album currently. That is forever changing, as we all know. But currently, like, they're fucking brilliant. Fucking brilliant. And then let's move over to Guts Spilled Edition. Now for Guts, I didn't talk about Guts when it came out last September because I was making videos like this to talk about it. My favorite song off of Guts is The Grudge. I would say it's probably still The Grudge. I go back and forth between a few, but that one, I don't have a list of those songs in front of me, so I couldn't tell you. Like, Making the Bed's also another favorite, but I was so excited to see The Grudge live. So then for new songs off of Spilled, my top song off of Spilled is Stranger. And Everybody Loves So American. As much as more I've heard it, I also love it, but that's definitely my top one. When more albums do come out, I will continue to update this and these vlogs this way. But that being said, let's go ahead and jump back into the reading. Not that I'm personally trying to search out to figure out this is about Harry Styles or not, because if so, that would be really weird just because of a lot of different things. I mean, to be fair, out of all the Harry Styles fanfic I've read, which is more than I would like to say on the internet, this is probably the best light I've ever seen him in. So he has that going for him because this man is such a sweet and kind boy. But the keyword there is boy, I guess. I don't know, the age gap doesn't really disturb me super much. I don't even think it will disturb me that much in the movie either. I do like the fact they aged him up a little bit. He's only 20, he might be 21 here. He's 25 or 26 in the movie, which I think is better personally, but I also get the gimmick, so it's like a mixed bag. They just reference Into the Woods. Her daughter, I don't want to spoil what the purpose of that was. They just reference Into the Woods, her specifically listening to that song, her daughter, for a reason. And that rubbed me wrong, or rubbed me weird. I got the job. I haven't really been talking to anybody because everybody's asleep or at work or at a concert or listening to Taylor Swift. Just got the call. Orientation on Monday. And I haven't really thought about it either. Because one, I've not been doing the vlogs like I did, but I gotten to a point where I thought me talking about it on the internet and vlogging about the experience of having job interviews so that I wouldn't get the job. And then there was a few other factors that were fine. Also, thank God it's not for like tomorrow or something. I was so nervous that it was gonna be like for tomorrow or something like that. Tomorrow is 420. Okay, there's a fan behind me, so sorry I'm gonna talk a little bit louder. But I just finished The Idea of You before I'm going to bed. We read 2 books today for the first day, which is great because I wasn't planning on reading anything because Taylor Swift just came out. You know how that goes. I read the last like 250 pages of it today. I have many thoughts and feelings about this book, and I kind of hope they slightly change the ending. I don't know, because here's the thing, like, all of us wants I'm gonna have to spoil some stuff. I can't talk about this book without spoiling some things, I guess. If I go into spoilers, the screen will turn black and white. So the book itself feels like there's an overwhelming dread over the whole thing. There's gonna be something horrible that's gonna happen. Then something horrible does happen. It's probably like 2/3 of the way through. And I was like, okay, this is gonna be a third act breakup and things. But there is really no third act breakup. It's really interesting structure. And I love the structure of the novel. I don't necessarily think all the sex scenes are that necessary. Maybe 3 or 4 would have been good, but there's like 80 of them. They have sex all the time. It's a very big part of that relationship, and I think it's the show where the title comes from is also quite gorgeous. And I like some of the writing. I'm giving it a 3.75. I still think it was a good book, and I can see where people are coming from when it was one of their personal favorites. And if you really like early Taylor Jenkins Reid, where it really makes you think and really process everything, I actually think you would probably really like this book. If you like new Taylor Jenkins Reid, I don't really think you would love it as much. I don't think it's as inspiring as some of those. but from her earlier choices, which were more hard-hitting and having the really embracive questions that made you truly just like sit there and ponder for like an hour after you read. And this is that book. It ends in a very depressing way, which I don't think a lot of people are gonna like. I'm very mixed on it, and if I have other thoughts when I wake up, I will surely tune you in. So we are moving to our next book. I don't think I talked about the smut that I read, so I'll also mention that in this clip. Moving over to Girl A, by Abigail Dean. Once again, just have really no clue what this is about. I'm gonna get like halfway through it, and then I'll update you guys on my opinions and stuff on it. I also read Marshmallow Person, Sleeping with Marshmallows, something or those lines about peeps coming back to life and curing a woman's issues, I guess, with, I read it because I saw someone on TikTok talking about it, and I was like, oh, it can't be that bad, and it was. So we're moving over to Girl A. Girl A is a physical, or a hybrid read. I'll be physically reading it and listening to it, depending on if I like the audiobook or not. But I did go get it, just because it is a thriller. I'm pretty sure, like I'm 80% sure it's a thriller, and I tend to like to listen to thrillers more than physically read them, depending on what it is. Is it a suspense thriller? I tend to sometimes like to read those. But if it's just like an average thriller, I don't like to read those very often. So I did grab it just in case. You can hear noise in the background, so sorry, but the door's open and it's hot and it's a whole thing. But I did do a whole reread of Ruthless Ends, which is the final book in the Marionettes. It landed on a 4.25 on the reread, on the initial read as well. This was simply because I was doing my reading vlog. I do a process when I do spoiler reading vlogs reviews, so I gotta reread. That's the final book in the Marionettes series. The first book being Marionettes follows a girl who is becoming a bodyguard for vampires. It's fun, it's cute, it's a romantasy novel, so that's interesting to you guys. I love the author. I recommend this series if romantasy is interesting to you. If you don't really like romantasy but you're interested in the author, the two books I always recommend is Broken Purple Eyes and The Anti-Relationship Year. If you're a poetry, I recommend all three poetry collections. My favorite one is Poems at the End of the World. Alright, moving on. Let's talk about Girl A by Abigail Dean. I am currently 130 pages into it. It's like 340 pages long. It's a slog. I'm not liking the writing style very much. Actually, I think it's quite bad. I don't like it. It's not bad. I mean, every writing style is for their own thing. I just don't think Abigail Dean is an author for me. So this is about 6 kids who grow up in an extremely abusive home. So essentially, these two parents, mostly the father is the instigator here, is extremely religious, and they end up using their religion to torture these kids. They're malnourished, they're chained up to buildings. The girl, when she is found, she has a broken leg. It's like all this other stuff. There are a few kids in here who are taken care of better for whatever the reason might be. And it's the conversation, it's showing the abuse, so you get a backstory into what our main character here goes through. Her name is Lex. We get to see like kind of what she goes through, and then we're jumping ahead in time to present day while her brother is getting married and they're getting everybody back together for this marriage. And then we're also going backwards in time after the events of the house when she's in college, different moments, and so we're jumping around a bunch and things. It's mostly told from her point of view, except for these like one-off little stories. I don't find that interesting. I find it kind of boring, but I'm sure it works for somebody. Like, I think I'm gonna pass it along to my sister when I get done, because I think she's gonna love it or enjoy the reading process of it. Able to move on. At this moment in time, it's screaming I'm a 3. We'll see if it sticks its landing or not. I don't expect any twists or turns to come around, and this is just literary fiction at its finest. There is really no thriller elements to it. It is hard to read in a lot of different places. Lex herself has some really interesting sexual things that she talks about in here, which would make me uncomfortable for obvious reasons. And then also some of the conversation, the abuse towards children, it's disgusting, and it's always hard to read. Doesn't matter what book you read. It's definitely not as bad as some of the books I have read, but it's definitely not like a walk in the park. And if anybody has ever experienced anything that these characters go through, I'm sure it's an extremely triggering novel. So do know that going into it. I'm hoping to finish Girl A today, and if I do, I'll give you probably a final check-in for that book as well. Oh, I want to give you an update to you guys. It's been like 2 or 3 hours since I last talked to you. I also finished Girl A by Abigail Dean. This was a novel that ended up actually being a thriller. So the first, I would say, it's interesting because I would have to agree. I looked at a lot of reviews because I was like, am I the only person who's not enjoying it, who didn't feel like the novel itself was as good as it possibly could have been? And then I was like, okay, if I am feeling this way, if I'm the only person feeling this way, I feel bad, and then maybe there's something wrong. There's 2 things I took away from this. One, I would like to mention the acknowledgements for anybody who's going to read this. In case you don't telling stories based on other stories. Abigail Dean was an author. This is her debut novel, which is fine. She decided to tell a similar story to a real life story without the consent, from what I understood. Maybe she did have the consent of people who went through a very similar hurling experience. Obviously, this is very fictitious, but same case. I had two big complaints throughout the whole thing. I saw two of the big reveals. I would hate to say there's reveals in this book, but there is. Two of the big reveals to be very, I don't know, very like, oh my god, yeah, of course, that's what it is, right? Especially the one. The one is so type laid out for you that it's essentially like, if you don't get it, that's fine. Like, if people just don't see things coming, it's not that uncommon. But like, if you're looking for it, it's there. It's very obviously there. The other thing, so the two big things. I hate the fact it was a thriller. I think this book would have worked much better as a literary novel. The idea of starting with someone who escapes a horrific event and then going back to tell that story, one, it's not something that's happened very often. And some of my favorite books are like in the same context of this when it comes to kidnapping, children abuse, or whatever you want to say. They tend to start out this way, and so I had high hopes. I felt like the first like 25% of this novel was great. The first chapter is super strong, and I even enjoyed parts of the second chapter, and it started opening up questions that never truly got answers to, which is, I guess, realistic, but also annoying in a book standpoint. I feel like maybe an epilogue could have helped, I don't know. Then it's also only told from the main character of Lex, which is Girl A. The entire story, which for some of the reveals to happen, because it is a thriller, it has to be told from her point of view. But if you take away the thriller angle altogether, the reveal does not matter if it's a literary novel. Not that literary novels can't have reveals, because obviously they can, and I'm not saying that, but when I think of like phenomenal literary novels, you guys get so mad at me, I think of like A Little Life, you know, which is down there, and I have to think to myself, and I have to be like, that one had reveals. Reveals I didn't want to know. Reveals that I had to sit through. But they were still, I think it could have worked really well. It's a thriller though, through and had the same problems as a normal thriller. I gave it a 3. That's really what the answer is. We are moving on to my next audiobook. I'm gonna do a quick little outro for this weekend reading vlog. I read 4 things for you guys this weekend. 2 of them I definitely logged, and one of them I made like a joke about, because it was a joke type of situation. We also talked about like Taylor Swift and music and stuff. I mean, there's things to mention. Starting with The Idea of You by whoever's on the cover. I could look it up, but I don't feel like it. No, it was a 3.75. That's what it was. My brain wanted to make it a 4.5. That's crazy. It's definitely not a 4.5. I agree with my brain. My original idea for that was a 4.5. I felt like the ending really worked. There had no plans of doing a sequel until recently, when there's maybe plans because the movie's coming out, I'm assuming. The author has never written anything. She's a pretty famous voice actor, though. Narrator for audiobooks, which is... I'm pretty sure she plays, like, one of the main leads in Daisy Jones and 6. So, in the audiobook. Then I also read Meeting with Mallows. That's how you pronounce that. By Nora Noodle. This is a little short story about mating with marshmallows. Let's just move on. Then I did my reread for Release's End. That video eventually has already gone up, so that's the reason why that existed. It was a 4.25 star, that's what I was thinking. Ending with our solid 3, which is Girl A by Abigail Dean. This is a book I can officially say I'm going to take off my unread TBR. There's really no reason for me to keep it, as I have no plans to ever go back to it. And I have a hard time recommending it to you unless I know you specifically and I know what type of books you like. I decided I'm moving on to my sister, and I know she's going to take this 3 as like, ooh, should I like it? And I have a feeling she's going to really take away more things and enjoy it more than I will. It'd be also if my mom was still reading, if she was still able to read and things, I think it'd be a book that my mom would really like as well, and so I would give it to both of them. But I'd have to know you to recommend it, I'm gonna be honest with you. And those are the 4 books I read for you guys this weekend. Have you guys had a good time? Let me know if you guys read anything this weekend, and how's your reading going in April? This is definitely helping my reading in April. Part of the reason why we're doing a weekly vlog next is because of that. Bye!